everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I just basically am going to speak to you about the full entire process and everything that you need to know when it comes to going VAT registered as an Amazon FBA seller, right? I get, this is probably like my most frequently asked question. I get people all the time who are doing 5, 10, 20K a month, who are very fastly creeping up to that VAT threshold, ask me questions of, Jack, what do I need to worry about? What's going to change? How do I, do all of this stuff? And I completely understand, because a lot of people, including myself, start Amazon as their first business, right? And going VAT registered, everything just starts to become real, right? And I can speak for myself. I didn't know how VAT even works. I didn't know how to work it out. I was super scared. And there was just a lot of things that I didn't know. So within this video, I'm basically going to clear everything up. A lot of different rules and different things have changed in the past year on Amazon. So I'm basically going to give you a full up-to-date version of basically everything you need to know when it comes to going VAT registered. So if you haven't seen me before, my name is Jack Davy. I've been selling on Amazon for just over 5 years now. I've done millions and millions of pounds in sales on Amazon. I've got a full warehouse. I've got about 15 staff at this point, and I've turned my Amazon business into, well, a fully operational, legitimate business, right? As opposed to the side hustle that I started it out with. So I feel like I've got a lot of value to share. I've been through the full VAT registration process myself. I failed, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure a lot of this stuff out myself. So within this video, I'm going to clear everything up, and towards the end of the video, I'm going to give you some tangible steps that you can be taking now to actually prepare for VAT registration. Even if you're still far away from the threshold, I would still recommend watching this video, and there's going to be a lot of different stuff that you can actually implement within your business now that will help. So I've got a few notes on my phone that I've jotted down before this video that I want to discuss. So first things first, Amazon recently, I say recent now, it's probably around 12 months ago, changed the way their VAT system works internally within Amazon, right? So Amazon as a business used to be registered in Luxembourg, right? And they used to charge all of their fees and all of the services that they charge to their sellers. They used to charge that from their company in Luxembourg, right? So this meant whenever you pay any service fees to Amazon, when it comes to Amazon fees, maybe advertising spend, maybe storage fees, basically all the fees that Amazon charge you, there was actually no VAT on those fees, right? So if Amazon were charging you £3, it was just £3 flat. There was no additional VAT on it, right? Which meant that there was a significant advantage for the non-VAT registered seller, right? Because everybody was just paying the same flat fee, and the VAT registered sellers of the world couldn't claim back any VAT because there wasn't any VAT on it, right? Whereas around, I think it was around a year ago now, Amazon changed the way their business operates and the way their business works, and they now register in the UK. So all of their service fees, again, the FBA fulfillment fees, the referral fees, the storage fees, the ad spend, everything is charged from their UK company, right? Which means that previously your Amazon fees may be £3, whereas now they are £3 plus VAT, right? So this was a huge change in the Amazon space, and it actually hurt a lot of small businesses, right? Anybody who wasn't VAT registered and anybody who was doing maybe 30, 40, 50, anywhere from 30 to 90,000 pound a year in sales, it really hurt them because they now had to spend an additional 20% on Amazon fees that they didn't have to before. Whereas what that actually enabled VAT registered sellers to do is gain a lot more of a level playing field, quote unquote, because they are now able to claim the VAT back on the fees, right? So the VAT registered seller still pays £3, but the non-VAT registered seller now has to pay £3.60, including the VAT, right? So whereas before this change was actually implemented, it was very, very beneficial, and it was actually very profitable to be a non-VAT registered seller. I mean, it was very common that you could get 25+% margin, and whereas a VAT registered seller with the same cost of goods, the same sale price, everything like that, would sometimes be down at 13, 14, 15, 16%. So there was around a 10 to 12% discrepancy between the VAT registered seller and the non-VAT registered seller. Whereas now it's a lot more of a level playing field for everybody involved, right? And I believe this was a very good change that Amazon made and implemented, because previously I would say it was pretty unfair for a VAT registered seller, because competing against a non-VAT registered seller who automatically has 10 to 12% better margin than you makes it extremely hard to scale and extremely hard to compete. So for anybody who is taking their Amazon business seriously and anybody who really wants to scale, this was a really good change within the market, right? But obviously it meant that there was a big change for a lot of the Amazon community, really, because a lot of Amazon sellers do fall under the £90,000 threshold, and they do fall under non-VAT registered sellers, right? So this change mainly hurt online and retail arbitrage sellers, maybe A2A sellers, or maybe lower level wholesale sellers who have only just kind of entered into the market, right? But since this has changed, it has been a huge benefit for bigger sellers like myself. Now, the problem before, when Amazon used to charge their fees from Luxembourg, meant there was a big change when you went from being a non-VAT registered seller to a VAT registered seller. I mean, me personally, I went from doing £20,000 a month, £25,000 a month at 28% margin, I think. And when I went VAT registered, I mean, I was pretty unlucky, right? But I had, obviously I went VAT registered, so my margins dropped by 10 to 12% straight away. It was at the time where container prices and shipping prices were through the roof. I think a container was like $20,000 from China, whereas usually they're like $2,000. So all my cost of goods were going up from my suppliers. I'd just taken on my first warehouse. I'd just taken on my first member of staff. And I went from making 28% margin to, I think in my first month, I did like less than 5% gross margin. So it basically completely ruined me. And this was because I didn't understand VAT. I didn't understand how it worked. When I went VAT registered, it all happened pretty fast, and I didn't have the right guidance, the right support systems around me to actually do it properly and sustainably. So there are a lot of things that if I was to go back, I would do differently, which I'm going to speak towards the end of this video on. But going back registered completely screwed me over, really, and it set me back months and months and months in my journey. I went through a lot of hardship. I had to learn a lot of tough lessons. So if you are coming up to the VAT registration threshold, please prepare for it. And I'm going to tell you some actionable steps in this video that you can take. So at the time of filming this video, the VAT registration threshold within the UK is £90,000, which means if you surpass £90,000 in annual turnover within a rolling 12-month period, you will have to register for VAT. Now, honestly, it sounds like a lot of revenue, but if you really dial in on your sourcing, your contacting process, you actually understand how to communicate and articulate yourself to brands well and actually open these accounts, and you actually understand how to negotiate with them, I promise you, you will really hit that so fast. And genuinely, like, it won't take you that long to hit. I mean, even if you're doing 10, 15K a month, you will hit that pretty fast, right? And if you do want help with your sourcing and actually learn how to contact brands directly and negotiate with them properly and treat it as a business and not just as a side hustle, you can go to the description of this video, no pressure, but you can book in a call with myself, a member of my team. We can run through exactly what you're doing at the moment, what it is we offer, and whether or not we can help you. But that's in the link in the description. Again, no pressure. So honestly, once you dial in on your sourcing and you're contacting brands, you will hit the VAT registration threshold very, very fast. And if you have all intentions of scaling your Amazon business beyond just a side income where you're making maybe £500, £1,000 a month profit, honestly, you need to take VAT registration seriously and you need to understand it from day dot. Now, there is actually a huge advantage to going VAT registered as an Amazon seller if you are looking to scale, because when you're contacting brands, opening these accounts and just approaching them in general, approaching them as a VAT registered seller is going to give you a significant advantage as opposed to if you are a non-VAT registered seller. They're going to take you way more seriously. They're going to see you as more of a legitimate business. And you're more likely to get good quality accounts open, right? So this is definitely something to consider in the early phases. And it might be now, even if you're watching this video and maybe you're a non-VAT registered seller, you're contacting brands and distributors and wholesalers, and they're rejecting you based on the fact you don't have a VAT number. This may be something to consider of going VAT registered, right? So when you go VAT registered, what actually changes within your Amazon business? Well, the first things first is you now need to start charging VAT on your sale price of the goods. Now, the problem with this as an Amazon seller is if you were more of a service-based business where you maybe offered services to other businesses and maybe you were, I don't know, maybe you were an agency doing web development or something like that, right? Just a random example. Previously, you might have charged £2,000 for your service, right? But because you've gone VAT registered, you now just charge £2,000 plus that. And because you're dealing with other businesses and you've got a B2B service, you can, all of the businesses and the clients that you're dealing with can claim the VAT back. So although technically, quote unquote, on paper, you're charging a higher price, you're still actually retaining the same amount of money. Whereas the problem with Amazon is it's direct to consumer. So these customers aren't going to be able to claim the VAT back for the products that they're buying. And the problem with the Amazon marketplace and the reason why you will lose margin when you go VAT registered is because you are unable to charge a higher sale price for the product. So if you're selling a product now at £8.99, when you go VAT registered, it's not like you can push up the price to £9.99 or £10.99 to absorb the VAT. You're still going to have to sell that product at £8.99. However, you're now going to have to absorb the VAT cost within that £8.99, right? Because you're going to have to charge 20% within that £8.99 to go towards VAT, right? Now, the benefit is when you're VAT registered is you actually get to claim VAT back on expenses and your cost of goods. So when you go VAT registered, okay, you may be paying 20% of the sale price for VAT, but you now get to claim back the 20% on the cost of goods, whatever you pay for the stock. And you also get to claim the 20% VAT on your Amazon fees. And on top of this, you also get to claim for any expenses you put through the business that are VAT-able. You can actually claim for these when you go VAT registered. So generally speaking, when you go VAT registered now in 2025, your margin is going to drop anywhere between 2 to 6%. Okay, so if you're running at a 16% gross margin, expect to probably make anywhere from 10 to 14% after you go VAT registered. Now, I would recommend working out all of your margins. Literally straight after this video, just go and work out all of your margins for all of your products as if you were VAT registered, because depending on the sale price of the product and how big the fees are in comparison to the sale price of the product will depend on how much your margin is going to drop. So I'd recommend just going, if you use Barbot Pro, which we recommend to use, switch your settings to being VAT registered, and just going forward, just work out all of your margins as if you were VAT registered. And what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that the products and brands you're taking on board now are going to be long-term and they're going to have some sustainability and longevity in them, so that when you go VAT registered, you don't just drop to 5% margin, 6%, 7% margin, exactly like I did. And this is a problem that I see so many Amazon sellers make is they start scaling their business, and because they're non-VAT registered, they are typically more profitable than a non-VAT registered seller. They're typically more profitable than a VAT registered seller. They will go VAT registered without understanding the implications of going VAT registered, and their margin will drop. They suddenly stop being able to find products that are profitable because they don't understand how the process works. And I'm saying this from experience because it happened to me, right? Like mine was probably an extraordinary example where my margin dropped from 28% all the way down to like 5% straight away. I don't think that's going to happen to the majority of people, but what I'm saying is you will lose margin when you go VAT registered. So ensuring that you know how the VAT registration process works, how your margins will be affected is going to be super, super key, because what this is going to allow you to do is negotiate better with your suppliers from day dot. And again, this is something that I see a ton of people just don't know how to do. A lot of people just don't know how to negotiate properly, and they will open an account, they may take on a product, and they may get a price list, and it may be 15% margin straight off the bat off the price list. And they may think, fantastic, great, like I've got this product, it sells 1,000 times a month, I'm going to sell 500 of them, I'm making 15% margin, perfect. Well, the problem with that is first of all, you're not giving yourself any competitive edge or any competitive advantage against your competitors, because they're likely going to be given the same price on the pricing file. And if they've negotiated, they're going to be getting a better cost of goods than you. And also, it's just going to basically hinder any longevity that you have within that product. So you need to be negotiating properly. You need to be negotiating beyond just volume. Long are the days where you can just go and say, I can buy a pallet of this, or I can buy 1,000 pieces of this. Can you give me a better price? It will give you a little bit of a better price, and sometimes this can work, but I promise you there are much better ways to negotiate, and you need to learn how to negotiate beyond just volume. And you need to learn how to negotiate with adding perceived value and positioning your offering and your business in a way that's going to incentivize the supplier and the brand to actually want to give you a better price and want to work with you, right? So you need to be negotiating, and the first thing you need to do is understand what your margins are going to be post VAT registration. Now, when you go VAT registered, there is a small portion of the Amazon market that you can use to your advantage, right? And this is 0% and 5% VAT rated products, right? And this is something that not a lot of people know about, and they don't know how to utilize it to their full effect. But basically, in short, when you go VAT registered and you sell a 0% rated VAT product, it puts you in a significant advantage to the non-VAT registered seller, right? And let me give you an example. So you could be selling a product at £10, okay? You've got person A and person B. Person A is not VAT registered, person B is VAT registered. So you've got the sale price at £10, maybe the cost of goods is £3, and the Amazon fees are maybe £4 plus VAT, right? So the person A buys the product at £3, sells it at 10, and their Amazon fees are £4.80, okay? Person B, who's the VAT registered seller, also buys the product at £3, and there's no VAT on it, so they're not having to, the non-VAT registered seller is not having to pay VAT on it, but neither is the VAT registered seller. The VAT registered seller is also selling it at £10, but they have no liability to pay any VAT on the sale price because it's a 0% rated VAT product. However, where the benefit comes in for VAT registered sellers is within the Amazon fees. So the non-VAT registered seller will have to pay £4 plus VAT for their Amazon fees, whereas the VAT registered seller will be paying £4 plus that, but they'll also be able to claim the VAT back. Which means if you're selling a product at £10, using the example that I just gave you, and you are able to claim 80 pence back from the VAT in the Amazon fees, it means regardless of any negotiations, who is buying at a better price, the VAT registered seller automatically gets 8% better margin than a non-VAT registered seller. So in 2025, as a non-VAT registered seller, it is extremely hard for you guys to compete on 0% and 5% rated VAT products. And that's simply because you are just straight away at a disadvantage to the VAT registered seller. And this is where, as a VAT registered seller, you can utilize this to your advantage because you're not going to be competing against lower level, smaller sellers. You're only really going to be competing against the bigger sellers who are VAT registered. And those are the only people who are really going to be able to compete with you. So as a VAT registered seller, you should understand how 0% and 5% rated products work and how you can integrate them within your business and use them to your advantage. As generally speaking, you can make fantastic margin selling these products. Now, you don't need to centricate your business around 0% and 5% rated products. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, from experience, I didn't really understand what products were 0%, what products were 5%. And I actually missed out on a lot of opportunity within my first 1 to 2 years after going VAT registered within my business because I didn't understand 0% and 5% rated VAT products. And looking back on it now, I know that I opened so many accounts with brands where the product was 0% rated VAT and I just didn't know. And when I was working out the margins, I was thinking, how on earth are people making money on this listing, right? And I'm sure some of you will relate to this, some of you have probably seen it before. And in hindsight, it was because the product was actually a 0% rated VAT product, right? And it probably would have been profitable for me if I'd have actually pursued it. So any products within the grocery category, any household essentials usually fall under 0% rated VAT. So like coffee, tea, loads of different stuff. I think you can probably research on Google to see what categories and what products are 0% rated VAT. But what I'm trying to say is you should be, understanding if you make an inquiry, is this a 0% or a 5% rated VAT product, and how does that affect the margins? So, actionable tips of how to prepare for VAT registration. So, as I mentioned previously in this video, the first thing you want to do is if you're a non-VAT registered seller, you want to go through every single one of your products, literally straight after this video, go look at your products, work out your margins as if you were a VAT registered seller. And what this will be able to do is it will be able to tell you, right, okay, at the moment I'm doing 10K a month and I'm running at 22% margin. When I go VAT registered, I'm going to be running the same products at the same cost of goods, the same sale price, but my margin is going to drop to 18.2 or 18.5%. And this just gives you clarity on when you go VAT registered, how is this going to affect your business, right? Now, I'd recommend doing that straight after this video. If you use Barbot Pro, switch your settings to going VAT registered and just work them all out. And more than anything, it just gives you clarity and understanding of how your business is going to change when you go VAT registered. The next thing you need to do is as soon as you go VAT registered, you need to get a couple of different softwares. Now, I promise you these softwares are a little bit expensive, but I promise you they will change your life as an Amazon seller. And I promise you it will just save you so much headache, so much heartache, and avoid any confusion. So you should already have these already, but if you don't, you should have an accounting software like Xero or QuickBooks, so that are the main kind of market leaders within the UK. We personally use Xero. It's great, fantastic, does exactly what we need it to do. think Zero actually run an offer where it's like £1 a month for like the first 6 months, and then I think it goes up to like £20 a month. So it's pretty cheap, and it's actually a really good software. And Zero will just allow you to reconcile all of your invoices, your Amazon disbursements, and everything like that. So when it comes around to your year end, everything is a lot easier. And the second software that you need to get, which is specific to going VAT registered, is Link My Books. Now, Link My Books is the most important software that you need to get when you go VAT registered, right? And basically what Link My Books does is, the best way I can describe it is Link My Books will sit here, okay? So Link My Books will sit in the middle. You've got Amazon there, and you've got your accounting software and your Zero account here, right? And Link My Books will basically speak to Amazon, and they'll go, right, this is the disbursement from this week. Can you send me all of the reports associated with this disbursement? They will get these disbursements and they'll pass it over to Zero straight away. And this is all done automatically, and it basically automatically reconciles all of your Amazon disbursements within your Zero. So it works out all of your VAT, works out all of like the reversal reimbursement charges. If you're VAT registered now watching this video, you'll probably know how many different charges there are and stuff like that. But it basically just makes sure it's reconciled properly and efficiently, and make sure everything's done correctly, right? Now, naively or not, it took me around 2 or 3 months after I went VAT registered to find this software and actually implement it within my business, because I was doing all of the disbursements and stuff manually. Like I was getting the reports, sending it to my accountant. They were getting confused. I was getting confused, and there was just probably a ton of different discrepancies. But when I got Link My Books, super easy. It just made the whole process really super simple. So I'll leave a link in the description of this video to Link My Books if you want to get it. I think Link My Books charges based on your sales volume. So the more volume you do, the more expensive it gets. But I think if you're probably doing around 20k a month in sales, you're probably going to be paying around 40, 50 pound a month maximum. I promise you it's worth it. It might seem expensive, but I promise you it is worth it, and it is essential for going VAT registered. You will save that money in just time in itself. You will spend hours and hours and hours if you don't get this trying to work out and reconcile your disbursements. So those are the two softwares I recommend, Zero and Link My Books. I definitely recommend getting that straight away. Now, the third thing you need to do is links back to point number one, but it's mainly before you go VAT registered, just making sure that all of your margins are sustainable when you go VAT registered. You don't really want to be taking on any products and selling any products that when you go VAT registered are going to fall sub 10% profit margin, right? Even 10% is really relatively low in the grand scheme of things, and you really want to be aiming for probably 15% when you go VAT registered. But you just want to make sure that they don't fall sub 10%, because if you go VAT registered and suddenly all of your products just overnight drop to 6, 7, 8% margin like I did, it will have a significant effect on your business. And not only will it have a significant effect on your business, it will also have a big impact up here, right? It will have a big impact on your mindset, because you think, I'm just doing the same amount of work for half the profit, or I'm doing the same amount of work and I'm pedaling so fast and I'm just not getting the same money, right? I'm having to pedal double as fast for the same money. So you've got to make sure your margins are sustainable, and you've got to make sure you work all of this out before you go VAT registered. The fourth thing is make sure you are negotiating really, really, really well with your suppliers prior to going VAT registered, okay? So as I mentioned, you want to work out all of your margins as if you're VAT registered, and you want to be pushing for a 15% margin after VAT registration, okay? So this is super important, and again, it's something I see so many people just don't do, is you need to learn how to negotiate properly. You need to learn how to negotiate beyond just volume. You need to be negotiating from day one, okay? You need to be doing this. If you don't do this, it's going to be super hard to scale. You're going to have low margins, and to be totally honest with you, you're just digging yourself a deeper and deeper hole. So make sure you're negotiating well. Don't just take a product from a price list and think, oh my God, this is great, I'm making 15% margin. Push for harder, push for more. And I promise you, not only are you going to be way more profitable, but you're also going to give yourself much more chances of getting the longevity on these listings. And the final thing, tip number 5, is where possible, make sure you're buying from brands directly. Now, seems super obvious, but just by cutting out wholesalers, distributors, importers, you're going to be cutting out a lot of middlemen who are taking a big cut of the deal, okay? It's not going to be possible in all scenarios, and it is still profitable to buy from a wholesaler or a distributor. But what I will say is in 2025, it is very, very hard to buy from your generic wholesalers and make this business model work. Okay, you need to be going as far up in the supply chain as possible, ensuring when you are as far up in the supply chain as possible, you are negotiating to the best of your abilities. So those are really my tips for going VAT registered. Hopefully this video has given you a lot of clarity. Again, if you want help with starting or scaling your Amazon business, go to the description of this video, book in a call. We can have an informal conversation, just have a chat about what it is you do at the moment, what it is you're looking to achieve, and whether or not we can actually help get you there. But hopefully you've taken a lot of value out of this video. Peace.